Welcome back to the Impact 1 Million podcast, From Success to Significance. I'm your host, Shar Moore. Today we're joined by Melissa Browne. Melissa owns multi-million-dollar businesses and is financially independent, but it wasn't always that way. She certainly didn't always used to be good at money or business and has had to claw her way back from less than zero. She's learned the hard way that until she understood her own money story and money identity, she would continue to financially stumble and self-sabotage. She's a multi-award-winning serial entrepreneur, co-founder of the Money Bar, a financial planning firm for Gen X and Y, now Melissa Browne Courses, the co-founder and director of business at Thinkers.Inc. She's also written 4 books: More Money for Shoes, Fabulous But Broke, the global bestseller F Your Finances, and her most recent, Budgets Don't Work, But This Does. Melissa, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
What an exciting journey you've been on. And money is, look, as they say, it makes the world go round. I don't believe it defines us, but it certainly gives us choices. And so many people have let it control them. So I'd love to dive in how you actually got yourself into this line of work. And obviously you were facing your own money story. So take us back to the start, Mel.
So I never intended to have a job or an occupation where I talked and taught people about money. So I wanted to be a lawyer. I was a smart girl at school, and my dad really pushed me into law. I think it was one of those things where, you know, it was medicine or law or you want to tick one of those boxes. And I really wanted to make my dad happy. So I started studying law, and I soon realized, after 3 years, that it absolutely was not for me. And I went to him, and I remember feeling really sick about it. And he was an accountant, and he said, look, there's some law in accounting. Why don't you study that? So that's how I ended up initially as an accountant. And I started my own accounting firm at the age 28, really just to start to get a few clients and fund some more study. And I soon realized, I woke up one of those moments where 5 years later and went, oh, I have an accounting firm, and this is not what I wanted for my life. And I took 12 months to really decide, do I really want this? Is this really something that I've ended up doing just because I happen to be good at and to keep someone happy, not because it fills me up? And I started studying for an MBA. I started reading everything from Robert Kiyosaki to Vern Harnish and more. And I realized that I actually loved business. And women were starting businesses faster than ever before. So much of my client base was business. And I saw them, they had such a different mindset to the blokes when it came to money and wealth creation and their business, and even their attitude to the numbers side of their business. And I thought, you know what, this is something that I can get excited about. So that was the start of me actually getting excited about money and business and helping others. And it was about the same time that I divorced from my first husband. And he made a throwaway line to me as we started to split. And it was quite an amicable split. But he said, you're never going to make it on your own. And that led me, I'm very stubborn, I'm very rebellious. And it made me want to show him. And how I figured I'd show him was to give the entire divorce settlement and every dollar in my bank accounts to charity. And I wanted to ring them the next day and say, so I'm the charity, can I please have that back? Because I didn't keep money for bond, for wages, for cash flow, for anything. And it meant I had to move into a tiny basement, moldy room with 5 friends at age 33. And I remember feeling such shame, because I decided at that time that I really wanted to help women in business. And yet I had made such a stupid financial mistake. And I was at the point where I had less than nothing. And I was having to go into debt even to fund my business. So I became really determined to not just help others, but to help myself. and to really grow my own financial agency, my own financial wealth, and to give myself choice. And fast forward to today, I am now a multimillionaire in my own right. I've started 3 7-figure businesses. I know women, less than 5% of all women will start one. And a big part of what I do now through my work is I'm a financial educator. So I'm no longer a financial advisor or an accountant. I'm a financial educator, and I teach women how to build great businesses, but more importantly, how to have great personal finances and how to have that financial confidence and that financial agency for themselves.
Oh my goodness, there's so much. Like, where do we go from there?
I know.
Girlfriend. I mean, there's so many amazing points to your story and the determination. And I had someone on the show recently, and they said their teacher had said to them when they were younger that you're either compliant to your parents or you're defiant. Like, we either want to please them or we're like, you watch me, you know. And so you kind of were compliant to your father, but then you were defiant to your ex. It's like, oh, I'm going to, you know, so it's interesting we're either one or the other. But then you've gone on to use that story. And, you know, so many people out there often can play victim, and, you know, they'll let that circumstance beat them essentially. And that voice of the other person, like what your ex said, you'll never make it. And it's a blessing because we can actually turn that into something great, because whilst you were like, I'll show you, look at how many people you've shown and helped in all of your businesses. So again, it's a blessing what he said, because it lit that fire in you. And so tell us, Mel, you talk a lot about money habits and money story. I think I'd be remiss not to talk about that while this podcast is airing, because we're in a very unique time after the pandemic. We've got banks collapsing. There's a lot of fear. The media loves stirring that pot, which is why I don't listen to the news. And I created my own media agency so we could talk about good things. But there is a lot of that out there. So tell us more about that, please.
So money stories are essentially the myths or the messages that you pick up from the people around you. So that might be from your peers, from your parents, from the media, or just from the culture that we're in at the moment. So money stories that you might be hearing at the moment are that it is an unsafe time, and that we need to be really careful and cautious. You just need to be, you know, it's very uncertain, and you are right to be afraid. So just be very careful. And I can feel myself getting goosebumps as I even say that, because I see so many people at the moment pressing pause and really acting out of fear. And it's really important to note that most of the money stories that we carry are completely untrue. And it's also really important to know, and I love that you've created your own media agency, because the media speaks to men and women very differently. And Starling Bank did research around this, a UK bank, and they discovered that more than 2/3 of the articles directed about women to women say that we need to be more frugal and that we need to spend less. So the only messages we're getting are just be careful and don't overspend. Not you need to invest and be expansive and you are capable of wealth creation and all those things. Just be careful and don't spend. So when times are uncertain, what we do is we're careful and not spend, but we can only tighten our belts so much. And that's where, when COVID first hit and the pandemic first hit, in Australia, they allowed people to grab $10,000 out of their super. And the Ilion did some research, and they found that 67% of women spent that $10,000 on clothes and shoes, and the same amount of the blokes spent it on online gambling. And what I realized is this money story around not having enough is that when we can access, is that we don't know how to find more money. So I've been running free webinars for the last few years on how to find 10K in 12 months, because part of that story that we carry is that we actually don't know how to find more money. So it's really important to teach people how to do that. But money stories that we might carry could be as innocuous as, you know, a man is your financial plan. which seems innocuous, but actually really dangerous. Or that you want to work really hard and that's the key to success. When really working hard can only take you so far. It's also about investing and being really smart about your finances. Another one is you just need to pay your mortgage down, buy your own home and pay off your mortgage. Whereas there's an old adage that you can't eat your house. So if all you have is a home and that's it, you can't eat that. That's not an income stream. So money stories for me are really important to unpack, to recognize them, and then to ask the question, are these serving me or are they sabotaging me? Are they hindering me or are they helping me? If they're serving me, how can I amplify that message? But if they're sabotaging me, how can I rewrite that story so that it's one that's actually serving me, that it is actually going to propel me forward? And finding ways to quieten the noise. Now, you said that you don't listen to the news. Neither do I a lot of the time, because it's just, the clickbait headlines that exist, especially around money, are just devastating to people. Yeah. And globally, financial literacy is declining. So in Australia, for example, 48% of women are considered financially illiterate. So if we're reading these clickbait headlines, if we have these money stories around not being enough or just not understanding what to do, or you just need to tighten your belt, then is it any wonder that we freeze or we pause or we abdicate responsibility? And that's part of what I want people to rewrite, and then to take great action to counter, that's counterintuitive to potentially what they believe.
Gosh, so many amazing points in there. And I totally agree. And, I wrote a post on social media the other day, and what I'm seeing at the moment, big time, it's like a light shining on two different groups of people. One group you touched on are the ones that are pressing pause, pulling back, because we're putting together this exceptional coffee table book with 100 voices from all over the world. So we're having lots of conversations with people to see if they're the right fit for this book. And so the conversations I'm having, some of them are like, oh, now's not the time for me to raise my profile. Now's not the time for me to step up and share I'm going to pull back and pause, and I'll wait, and maybe I'll do the next one and I'll let others go first. Then there's this other group of people going, I'm doubling down. Give me everything you've got. I'm expanding my team. I'm going out. I'm going to be bigger and brighter than ever before. This is when the world needs me the most. And I'm like, how so different.
Yeah.
So different. And so the mindset, it's the same world, people. If friends, you're listening to this, we are living in the same world. Mel is in the same world as you. She's not from another planet, neither am I.
Feels like it sometimes, but no.
It does. It can be quite lonely. Join us. But, it is very much about the mindset that we are telling ourselves. And I've had people say, Shar, how can you put a book together and charge people to be part of something like that when the world is in so much crisis? And I don't let that affect me anymore. And I respectfully understand their viewpoint, because they might be in pain right now. I get it. But then when I get off the call, I say, Shar, how can you not put this book together? This is when the world needs you to bring these 100 people together, because those voices, your thought leadership, other people's thought leadership, that's how we change the narrative. That's how we start to make change. How can I not? And so it literally becomes fuel for me to go out and find my next person. What's one of the common stories that people do tell themselves, Mel, with all the work that you've done in this industry?
It's definitely that they're not enough. And that's a very female thing, to think that we're not enough. Either I'm not enough because, maths wasn't my strong point. I'm a creative. That I'm not enough because I didn't go to the right school, or I didn't get the right degree, or I didn't grow up in the right suburb, or I didn't have the right experiences. But this not enoughness, I see it as not just a financial thing. We think that way in our parenting. Oh, am I doing enough? Am I being enough? We think that way in how we look. We compare ourselves to models that are filtering themselves. We compare ourselves to people on the internet who are being gifted what they're receiving and showing. They're not even purchasing, or they're deeply in debt from what they're showing because they want you to be impressed. Strangers that they don't even know. So that there's this comparison culture that's happening, and there's this deep not enoughness that's going on with it. And I have everyone from women in their 30s to women in their 50s and 60s saying, oh, I don't know that either I've got enough time, or am I going to be able to do this? And my answer is always, you absolutely can. And I see part of my role is education, but part of my role is also reassurance. And I did a live Q&A for my community last night. And again, we're at the end of our course, and one of the women said, I'm in my 50s. Can you just tell me again that I've got time? I'm like, absolutely I can. Like, you have got time. And I find this not enoughness that is so strong in other parts of our life, because our life isn't a silo. We don't live in these silo groups. So of course it's going to permeate our finances. And again, I'm always a research person. So there was a research piece done in the US with Fidelity, and they surveyed 1,000 different people. 93% believed that men were better investors than women. 93%. And yet a Warwick Business School longitudinal study found that men and women beat the FTSE index, which is the UK stock exchange, but the women outperformed the blokes. Yet 93% think that women don't invest as well. And I think it's just realizing we are enough. We just need to get educated, care, and take a risk, actually do something. Rather than putting everyone else first, we need to put our own financial oxygen mask on and realize we're capable.
Yes, very much so. And it comes back to, you said it beautifully, education. And I feel so blessed sometimes to be in the publishing industry, because I can share great people, great knowledge with the world through education, through books, through TV shows, etc. Right? And it's about doing what we're all called to do. I can't do what you do, and I don't beat myself up over it. I barely finished maths, barely passed, but I run a very successful business, and I've learned to focus on my skills, and thank God for my accountant and my BAS person, right? They love what they do, and it lights them up, and I'm like, go for it, girlfriend, knock yourself out with my books. Right. And it's about finding our strengths, and not, I think as a society, regardless whether it's money or comparing, like often people get on, oh, your background, so I don't feel good enough. Like, we need to stop doing that, friends. You're listening to this, you're watching this. From this moment on, Mel and I are giving you full permission to just totally own your space, own your place in life, own wherever you're at. And if there are parts you're wanting to enhance or do better at, join Mel's courses, go find someone who can help you, because we can all make that change if we want to. But the moment we compare, my goodness, girlfriend, you've just put yourself on the ground and this person on a pedestal that I promise you they don't want to be on. They don't, because they're human. They don't want to fall from the place you've put them at, because they will stuff up one day. Then you'll go, oh, I thought they were, you've put them there, so don't put them there. Mel, you talk about the ick factor and women feeling ashamed to ask. And I'd imagine, like, I'm in my early 50s, and I'm sure, and there's no way I know as much as you do. And so, but I don't feel ashamed for that. I just haven't taken the time to invest in learning more. But why do you think, what is this ick factor, and why do you think women feel ashamed to ask?
But particularly around money, I think it's something that we're conditioned to. Now, it's the old money, politics, and religion. It's the polite, it's not polite dinner party conversations, but also I think as women, we're taught, and certainly my generation was taught, to be nice girls. You just want to grow up and be nice, and thought well of. And you're not thought well of if you discuss money, or if you're, think of words to describe it. She's clawing, she's pulling herself up, these very unfeminine descriptions. And I remember I was sitting around a dinner of other business women, probably about a decade ago, maybe even longer, I want to say. And these were all very, very smart business women that really wanted to go further. And we were talking about our goals for that year. And I remember saying at the time, it was probably at least 10 years ago, it got to me and I thought, they were all being very vague. And I went, you know what? I want to make $1 million this year. Like, that's my goal. And they all looked at me like, oh, Wow.
You went there.
Yeah. And a couple of them came up to me after and went, oh, you're so brave for saying that. And I remember going, why? Why is that brave? Brave is going and speaking out in other countries, or dancing where you're not allowed to dance. It's not brave.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's not brave to say you want to have that financial independence. And I know when in the Australian TV, when Lisa Wilkinson said that she wanted the same amount of money as her co-host, and the new co-host, Georgie, was asked, what are you on? And this was probably only 5 years ago, 6 years ago. She said to the journalist at the time, I think it's crass to talk about cash. And I remember going, Georgie, no, you've set us back so far. But I think that sentence explains why so many of us feel uncomfortable talking about money. It's crass, it's icky, it's not polite. And for me, I want to be impolite when it comes to money. I want to be crass, because by me sharing what I'm earning, by me sharing my wealth and encouraging others to do the same, then I think it just normalizes it. We have a survey that we send out that we then share every single year with how my community's performed, and we put dollars in it around assets that investments they've made, and not individuals, but the community as a whole, because I think we need to start talking about it more, because it's that whole what I see I can be. Yes. And I think with women and money, we see others doing it, then of course we believe that we can do it as well. And I'm a Western suburbs chick, I don't have family money. I came from nothing. So you can do it.
Totally. And I love that. And it normalizes it. The more that you and I can talk about it. And I shared a few years ago, and I was crucified for it, but I shared it again anyway. And it was a strategy I was teaching when I was mentoring. And again, I thought I'm going to own the space, because so many people were struggling on how to leverage social media. And when I was in the mentoring space, I thought for me, it came so easy. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to share this strategy and let it help some people. And I said, learn how to make 100K from your inbox. I put $1 on it, and I shared that it was through my DM strategy. And they're like, I got trashed. You're talking about money. You're just icky. You're selling. You're this. And actually, I know everyone came through that inbox strategy are still clients today, still friends today. So grateful I reached out. It was done in such an elegant way. I didn't actually sell to them. It was effortless, because there is a way to earn an income through social media without being that icky person.
Yeah.
And so just because they didn't understand it, it was easier for them to try and pull me down. Try is the word, because it didn't work. And I kept teaching it and doing it. Helped so many people. And, we've made millions of dollars in our media agency, because we've shined the light on great people doing great things in our magazines, our books, our TV show. This coffee table book will be the biggest project I've ever done, right? Global, it's going to be amazing. And I want to share that. When I've learned how to do it and it's all clucked, I want to share that, because no one can copy me, Mel. No one can copy you. Right? No one has my backstory. I'm not scared of competition. What if someone else does the book? I bloody well hope they go and do a book.
Exactly.
I hope they go and take on the world and do it at Times Square and book. I would be there cheering them on in the sidelines while I eat a burrito. Like, I want that, right? I want that. The more that we all stand in our power, they can't do it my way. They don't have my uneducated background. They don't have my story. They don't have my money story. They don't have any of it. And run away from home in 6 weeks and travel and go find, they'll do it their own way. And I think that's what's so powerful as leaders, and women and men in business, men as well. The more that we stand up, the more that we stand on our soapbox, the more that we share out the world through our lens, the more that others might actually change their lens of the way they've seen things, even by 1%. And there we have a shift. And that's how things change, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And it's funny what you say about copying, because you'll reach people that someone else won't be able to, but other people will be put off by that. And that's okay. That's why we need so many different people adding their voices, and not to be scared by that. Like, that's a good thing.
Exactly. And I think people are so fearful of the no. I get no's all the time, and I just think they're just not ready. It's not right. It's a protection for me. That's not right. Whatever it is. But it makes me so excited that the next person I speak to is going to see my vision. They want to impact 1 million people through this book. They will jump on board, happily invest, like it's ready, it's time. So some people take a no and go, oh, it's not going to work. It's the project. It's me. It's this. What about they're just not the right fit right now? And I think it's so important that we don't take no to heart. We've been taught that everything should be a yes, and that is total BS. You're not meant to be everything to everyone. You're not meant to work with everyone. So friends, when you're listening, just keep looking for your yeses. Find your community. We talk a lot about community on this show, Mel. How important has community been for you on your journey?
Oh, so important. I was the person very early on. I had a lot of things happen to me when I was younger. So I very much wanted to just go it on my own. I didn't want people. I didn't want help. And I wanted to make sure that if my own success finished and ended with me. So community, when I first started in business, I wasn't very interested in. But I very quickly realized that you can't make it on your own. And I was incredibly introverted. So to have those few women around me that I had at the time that are still in my life was absolutely essential. But community now is everything. Like I have women that I meet with every single month that we've been meeting with for 5 to 7 years that I don't know that I would have got through COVID as successfully without them, or life as successfully. I've got others that I've been meeting with for probably 10 years, every 6 to 8 weeks. And then there's my community that I just, they are trying together. And I just love them for it. I love that they are so willing to hold me accountable, but also willing to do the work. And I think that's where community really works. I know in my course, for example, I put, because I've had eating disorders when I was younger, I used some examples around food, etc., and money, because I think there's a lot of synergy with food or money. And some members of my community said to me, hey, how you've done that, this is how that's showing up for me, or I'm a dietitian and I think there's a better way that you could describe that. And I was so grateful for that, and put a big thing out to my community saying, great, this is how we've decided to change this as a result. And thank you for bringing it to my attention, which just strengthens it, because I believe that real community is vulnerability, and one person not being, as you said, the person that's on the pedestal, but is actually just in the ground with everyone else going, come on, let's go this way. But listening to what everyone else is saying at the same time, I think it's so important.
Definitely. There's so many amazing points in there and so many great lessons for us all. And you know, find your community, friends, find the people that get you, show up, put yourself out there, and really let people know what sort of life, what sort of business you're looking for, and let them find you. And when opportunity knocks, don't slam the door because of a past bad experience. We've all had them, right? But it could be the perfect opportunity at the right time for you to step through that doorway. Your whole community could be waiting for you. And I know the fun we're going to have, especially with the women in the book, when we hit New York and go shoe shopping, right? The community of people, that we're going to have so much fun. And that's what life should be. Business should be a fun journey. It's not all work, work, work. I have so much fun with our clients, and I know you two do as well, Mel. So look, if people want to find you and look through some of your courses, what's the best place to find you?
So we'll give you a link where there's some resources and some different things, but melissabrown.com.au, there's an E on the end of Browne, or melbrown.money on Insta.
Love it. Mel, thank you so much for your time. I know how busy you are running your businesses, and we really appreciate you sharing today.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for having me.